Welcome back, everybody, to Premier Basketball Camp. Super excited you're here and ready to go. Let's get right into it with our warm-up of the day. For this warm-up, you might remember it from day one. You need 15 feet of space. I've got my 2 black lane lines marking off my space. You're going to start at one side. You're going to do high knees all the way there. Turn around, do high knees all the way back. Remember, high knees is about driving those knees up as high as you can and as many quick little steps as you can possibly do it in. And then do high knees on the way back. Next part of the warm-up is the same thing as high knees, but this time it's the bottom kickers. You're gonna do as many bottom kickers as you possibly can, as fast as you can, driving those heels all the way back so you feel it right in your quads. Last part of the warm-up is jumping jacks. We're gonna do 10 of them. Get right into the starting position, feet together, hands down at your side. 10 jumping jacks, ready, go. I'm warmed up, I hope you are too. Let's get ready for a little bit of skill and drill time. Grab that basketball, meet me right back here. All right, boys and girls, today's skill and drill time is actually a little bit more advanced, but I think we're still gonna have a lot of fun practicing it together. We're gonna practice dribble attack moves today. All that means is just like on Monday when we practiced figure eights, stationary dribbling, even cone and zigzag dribbling, we're now gonna use those things that we practice and actually put it more into like a game-like form. So all you need today is a ball, your hoop, and then I have a chair set up that's gonna be my pretend defender. You could use a cone, you could use a water bottle, you could use a cup, you could use anything that you can stand up just to act like a little bit of a pretend defender that you can use and practice these dribble attack moves on. So I'm gonna set my chair up just about 10 or 12 feet away from the basket, and then I'm actually gonna start 5 or 10 feet behind the chair. Once I have everything set up, all we're gonna do for this first dribble attack move is a simple crossover. Just like we worked on zigzag dribbling earlier this week, we're gonna cross over once we get to the defender and then dribble in for a layup. When you're doing a crossover, a couple things you wanna make sure you're really keeping in mind. One, keep that crossover nice and low and snap it. Don't make it super lazy and super soft and super high. You want it nice and low and snapped, just like that. The second thing is no matter what move we're doing, you want to explode as fast as you can out of that move. What I mean by that is after I cross over, I want my next step, boom, to be big, long, fast, strong, so that you can get away and get by the defender and get all the way to the hoop. The next dribble attack move we're gonna work on is between the legs. It's the same thing that we did when we did zigzag dribbling, but this time we're gonna do it like we're attacking a defender. So just like a crossover, I wanna make sure that my between the legs dribble is low, and also just like a crossover, I wanna explode out of it as I'm going to the hoop. These are both really, really good moves that you can always practice at getting better and better at as you're working on attacking a defender. Another great dribble attack move that you can start practicing right now, no matter what level you're at, is what we call a stutter step or a hesitation dribble. This is really simple. You don't even have to do a crossover or switch hands to do it. All you're gonna do is as soon as you dribble up to your defender, or in our case this chair, is I'm gonna squeak my feet kind of like we're doing a closeout, or I'm gonna hesitate, stop really fast, and then explode out of it. We call it a stutter step because you squeak or stutter your feet just like that. The idea is that I'm gonna pretend like I might pass, I might dribble, I might cross over, I might shoot. I'm hesitating and stuttering my feet so my defender doesn't know what I'm gonna do, and then I'm gonna explode out of it all the way to the rim, just like this. That's another really, really great dribble attack move that you can start practicing right now, working on stuttering those feet, hesitating just for a second so your defender doesn't know what you're gonna do, and then exploding out of it all the way to the hoop. Welcome to Challenge Time, boys and girls. I'm super excited that we have a chance to rest, relax, drink a little bit of water maybe, and learn a little bit more about God, following God, and what that looks like for us. Yesterday we talked about Queen Esther, one of my all-time favorite stories in the Bible, and how following God gave Esther the courage to say the truth even when it was hard and even when she might get in trouble for doing it. Today we're going to talk about a story that maybe you've heard before. This is a great story in the Old Testament about a man named Joseph. Now if you've heard the story, great, keep listening though, because maybe you'll get something out of it that you haven't heard before. But before we get to the story of Joseph, I want to give you guys the key point or the main theme of today's story, and that is following God will give us the courage to forgive others. Following God will give us the courage to forgive others, even when it's hard. I don't know about you, but I think it's really hard to forgive people when they've done wrong things to me. And in our story today, it's going to be really hard for Joseph to forgive some people. So the story begins with Joseph and his house. Now Joseph lived with his dad, his mom, and a bunch of his brothers. Joseph had a ton of brothers. And they were all getting along really well. They were having fun, they were playing around, maybe they were doing work and then going to the pool. Who knows what they were doing? But what happened was Joseph's dad gave him a special coat, a special jacket. And he only gave it to Joseph. He didn't give it to anybody else. He didn't give it anything else to any of the brothers. Well, his brothers didn't like that very much. They became pretty jealous of that. So they got together and they hatched a plan. It was a pretty bad, pretty sad plan. And that plan was that when Joseph fell asleep, they were going to beat him up, take his jacket away. And not only that, but they also sold him into slavery. They sold him to an Egyptian that was going to take him to be a slave in Egypt, which was miles and miles and miles away. So that's what they did. They beat him up, they stole his jacket, and they sold him into slavery. Now already, Joseph hasn't done anything wrong. Already, Joseph has been beaten up, had his jacket stolen, and sold into slavery, and he hasn't done anything wrong. Well, it just gets worse for Joseph, I'm afraid. So he starts working for this man named Potiphar. And Potiphar really liked Joseph. Joseph was doing great work for Potiphar, and he was so good at his work that Potiphar made him head of the household. He was the head slave. So he was in charge of all the other slaves and in charge of everything that happened at the house. Well, unfortunately, something bad happened to Joseph. He was accused of something that he didn't do. Somebody lied about Joseph and said he did something wrong, even though he didn't do anything wrong. And Potiphar was furious. Potiphar was so mad that he had Joseph thrown in jail. So now, not only is Joseph away from his family, away from the people he loves, he's not even a slave anymore. He's in prison. He's stuck in jail. But instead of complaining and whining and feeling sorry for himself, Joseph just continues to follow God and to love God. And what that leads to is that God actually gives Joseph this very special gift. And God allows Joseph to interpret dreams. So there's a couple other prisoners that started having these crazy dreams. And God gave Joseph the knowledge to tell these prisoners, well, this is what your dream really means. And Joseph was right every single time. So one of those prisoners was a cupbearer. He would bring the cup to the Pharaoh, who was like the king in charge of all of Egypt. He would bring the cup to Pharaoh when Pharaoh needed a drink. Well, that guy was in prison, and he had these dreams, and Joseph told him what those dreams meant. Well, when it was time for the cupbearer to be released from prison, he went back to his work, bringing the cup to the Pharaoh. And then all of a sudden, something strange happened. The Pharaoh started having these really peculiar, interesting dreams. And these dreams were not letting him sleep, and he was worried, and he didn't know what to do about it. And he kept talking and talking about it, and he kept asking people what he should do. And the cupbearer overheard the Pharaoh talking to some other men about these dreams he was having. And the cupbearer remembered, oh, I know somebody that can interpret these dreams. So the cupbearer told Pharaoh, and Pharaoh said, all right, we'll bring him here. So they went down, they got Joseph out of prison, and they brought him before the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh told Joseph his dream. And right away, Joseph knew exactly what Pharaoh's dream meant because God told him what it meant. So the Pharaoh said, well, hang on, I got to keep you around here. We can't lose you. You're not going back to prison. You're staying with me in case I have any more dreams. So Joseph hung around Pharaoh and the kingdom, and he just kept doing more and more good work, more and more good things for the Pharaoh, until finally the Pharaoh actually made Joseph the second in command of all of Egypt. It would be like if Joseph was made the vice president of the United States. It was crazy. So Joseph went just from a normal boy to beaten up, had his jacket stolen, sold into slavery, to a slave to Potiphar's head slave, to a prisoner. Now he was the second in command of all of Egypt. Well, what actually ended up happening was there was a big famine, which means that they were running out of food all over the place, all over the earth. They were running out of food. And so people would come to Egypt, because Egypt was this big grand city, to ask for more food and to get more food, to pay for more food. And guess who came to ask for some food? Joseph's brothers and Joseph's family. Well, Joseph was the second in command, so he was actually in charge of who got what food and giving out the food. So all of Joseph's family, all of his brothers come, and they're asking for food, and they're asking Joseph for food, but they don't recognize him. It had been so long that they didn't even know that they were talking to Joseph. But Joseph recognized them right away. And not only did Joseph give them food, but he actually told them, you guys, I'm Joseph. I'm your brother. I'm the one that you beat up and sold into slavery. And they were so ashamed. They were so sad, and they ran to Joseph's feet and begged for his forgiveness. And Joseph picked them up and he gave them their food, and he said, you know what? Not only am I going to give you guys food, but I'm just going to invite you to come live with me in Egypt. That way you don't even have to ask for more food. You'll just have it. And I forgive you, because I follow God and I love God, and God forgives you, so I forgive you. That is a crazy, crazy hard thing to do, to forgive someone that does something wrong to you, especially something as wrong as that. I've never had something that bad happen to me. I don't know if I'd be able to forgive those people. But Joseph followed God, and Joseph loved God, and God gave the courage Joseph needed to forgive his brothers. I'm going to try every single day to be like Joseph, to follow God and have the courage to forgive others when they do wrong things to me. I hope you do too. Let's pray. Dear God, thank you for another amazing day, Lord. Amazing day of basketball, another amazing story from your Bible, Lord, that talks about following you and what that looks like, Lord, and how following you can give us the courage to forgive others. Lord, that's so hard. I pray that you help me to forgive others when they wrong me, just like Joseph did. We love you, Lord. In your name, amen. Thanks for listening to that story. Another great one. If you want more on that story, you can go back to the Old Testament and check it out. All right, let's get back to some basketball. Thanks for listening to another amazing story from the Bible during our challenge time with me, boys and girls. I always have a blast doing that with you guys. Now that we're done with our skill and drill and our challenge time, we're ready to get into our game or competition time. And for today, we're going to do one of my all-time favorite camp competitions. It's called Hot Shot. Now, if you've played Hot Shot before, that's awesome. But we're actually going to tweak the rules just a little bit since we're all at our homes and we aren't able to be together. But it's super simple. All you need is 3 cones. I've got 3 cones right here, and you're going to set them up, one at the layup or block position, one at the free throw line, and then one at the 3-point line. If you don't have a free throw line or 3-point line at your house, that's okay. The free throw line is usually about 15 feet away from the basket, and then the 3-point line can be anywhere from 20 to 23 feet away from the basket, but you guys can scoot that in as far as you need to. Here's how Hot Shot works. I'm going to put 45 seconds on the clock. I'm going to time it with my phone here, and I'm going to try to score as many points as I possibly can. I get 1 point if I make it from this cone. I get 2 points for making it from the free throw line cone, and I get 3 points for making it from the 3-point line cone. I can shoot it from wherever I want. I can only shoot layups if I want. I can only shoot free throws if I want. I can only shoot 3-pointers if I want, but you only get the amount of points from each of those cones if you make it. So let's see how I do at Hot Shot. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea how many I had. I wanna say maybe 16, we'll see. I'll go back and do the math, and maybe I'll put it right here at the bottom of the screen, see how many points I got in 45 seconds. Let's see if you can beat my score, whatever it was, I don't remember what it was. Thanks again for joining me, boys and girls, at this day 4 of Victory Sports Premier Basketball Camp. Can't wait to see you for our last video and last day coming up next. See you later.